Croc hikes. It's gear list time. Well, for all those who like Kentucky and Tennessee hiking, and in particular the Sheltowee Trace, welcome to the end of the year video that wraps up my recent shakedown hikes, preparing to do the Sheltowee Trace Hiker Challenge, 333 miles next year, with a group of fine folks once a month, hiking the length of the Sheltowee Trace. The plan was to put together a gear video which defines all my final decision making around the Sheltowee Trace through hike, at least the first few months. Given that there might be a little difference in some gear depending on how extreme the temperature might be in January, February, March, I think to the best of my ability, this is going to provide those of you who are interested an idea of my ultralight yet winter hiking gear. So let's get to it. So here we go. This is all the small stuff, stuff that would be going in ditty bags. The Sheltowee doesn't have any really what I would call specific and particular online maps, except for All Trails, which is of course contributed by hikers and isn't always as reliable as regular maps. So I'll be taking a map set with me, and in order to read that map set, this is a small little it's a small little set of reader glasses for those of us who are between 35 and 70. That fits in a nice little pack. Next is the Nightcore NU25 with the sort of lightweight shock cord instead of the thicker headband. Some of the smaller items for hygiene and so forth. I'm really going to carry just a small thing of Neosporin. That's my travel size toothpaste, toothbrush, a little bit of Body Glide in case something happens on the trail where I need a little extra lubrication. Some business cards, a little bit of paracord. I tend to stuff up at night, so I always take some nose spray, chapstick, obviously, for most everybody who's ever been hiking. A little small bag to put some of the essentials in that I don't want to put in my bear bag at night. This is a little plastic sheet, kind of, I think it's like a 1.5 by 3 plastic sheet to lay down to serve as kind of a picnic spread so I don't get dirt all over everything when I'm eating. This here is a little small collapsible bottle. It stays in my tent so that I don't have to get out of my tent, if you know what I mean. And I think you probably do if you're a guy. I'll leave it at that. There's no getting out of the tent at night when I've got to go to the bathroom. All right, there's the Sea to Summit Eros pillow, my toiletry bag with the deuce of spades. There's a little bit of fire starter lint material and a Bic lighter. Coming down this way, just a few Band-Aids, some alcohol pads. There's a little small bag that I keep with paper clips and a safety pin, and some patch stuff for the Cuban fiber for my pad in my tent in case I need to patch holes and so forth. Earplugs. I carry earplugs nearly every time I go hiking, especially when I know I've worked really hard during the day and I've got to get some sleep and I don't want to be woken up by any small critters. Yeah, forget the extra business cards. I already covered that. A little bit of moleskin. Coming back up this way, you've got, I like a little night light in my tent when I'm editing videos or before I get sleepy, so that'll hang from one of my zippers in the tent. There's the Catadine Be-Free filter. I've never had a problem with that. It allows me to carry an extra liter of water in case I want to gather some more, or I think it's a longer spell between resupply when I'm only filtering and I don't want to carry extra. It folds up quite nicely and goes in the back mesh pocket. That's a little Cuban fiber stuff sack I use for my medical stuff. There's the typical hiker vitamins, Tylenol and ibuprofen. I carry a couple of little aqua tabs just in case for some reason my filter would clog up unexpectedly. A Tagamet. I have a little bit of reflux issues, so there's some Tums, and I'm going to go stoveless on the Sheltowee because we're doing pretty big miles right out of the gate every weekend. I don't want to carry a stove. I figure I'm going to be hiking all day, especially when the weather's colder, less sunshine available. Once I get through hiking, probably in the tent. So I'm not going to be getting up in the morning drinking coffee. I can stand it for one day every weekend. There's a small Gerber pocket knife. I like to carry a pocket knife as opposed to wearing one or having one clipped to my backpack. There's my electronic stuff. I've got the little small Joby. You can see how big it is compared to my hand. The little Joby Gorilla Pod for setting up some time-lapse photos and things like that. I'm going to carry a 10,000 milliamp Anchor power bank. That'll usually get me 3 charges on my iPhone. I'll only need probably 1 at the most, but I might need to recharge my headlamp, which the NU25 is rechargeable. An extra bandana. The Zpacks multi-pack, which is 2.9 ounces. It's a little over 3 liters, I think. It'll hold a bunch of snacks and stuff. I can wear it as a fanny pack or clip it onto my backpack. Here's a little trick. I use a larger 13-liter stuff sack for my clothes, my extra camp clothes and stuff. Now, in the wintertime, it'll be fuller than in the summer, but I can almost always get my extra clothes and extra pair of socks and so forth. I can usually get it in an 8-liter stuff sack, but my little trick is I have trouble with sleeping with just a small pillow. So the extra clothes that I have at night after I've changed into my camp clothes will go in this stuff sack, but it won't nearly fill it up. So when I blow up my Sea to Summit Aeros pillow, I'll put that in that stuff sack with the extra clothes. The stuff sack's big enough to accommodate all that stuff, and then I'll be able to have one pillow to sleep on instead of trying to keep one underneath the blow-up Sea to Summit pillow. So it's like one larger size pillow, which I'm used to sleeping with lots of pillows under my neck. So we're getting into clothes now a little bit more. Before we do that, I've got the bear bag from Light AF. I'm not taking the whole bear bag because I'll probably eat breakfast first thing in the morning before we start hiking. Then all I'll have to have is snacks and one meal at night, and then meals during the day on Sunday before we come back out of the woods. I won't carry more than 1.5 pounds of food, and I'm just going to carry all my extra food and the few toiletries that have odor, and I'm going to put them in my Zpacks waterproof Dyneema multi-kit. But this is my bear line and my carabiner to throw it up over a tree limb. So that'll work fine instead of having to carry a real big bulky 3 or 4 or 5 night bear bag. I like to be able to see the elevation and the temperature pretty clearly. So here's the Garmin watch that I wear, and then this is some extra paracord and a whistle. I wear that around my watch, around my wrist, like a bracelet. There's a little small billfold for just a few essential things, a little bit of money, ID cards and stuff. My wife gave me the Kentucky hat, trucker hat, nice mesh back for airflow. That's going to go with me all the way through Kentucky. I can't think of a more fitting trucker hat to wear than that one. I like hiking in fingerless gloves from Outdoor Research if the weather's nice. It probably won't be nice enough to hike with those gloves. In any case, I never get blisters when I use gloves like this with my trek poles. I'll probably have regular gloves on of some kind during the hike because it's going to be colder in the first few months of the year. And then for camp, I've got Black Rock Gear beanie, which has down in it, and also my down footies, which have come from Goose Feet Gear. So that's pretty much all the small stuff. And now we'll go to the bigger items. There's everything you saw a minute ago in the last scene. And the only thing I forgot to mention is I carry 3 Ziploc bags with me on every trip. The 2.5 gallon one you see there in the middle of the screen, I use that because I can put my trail runners, my shoes, my socks, I can put that in no matter how muddy or nasty they are. I can zip it up. I can put it inside my sleeping bag. I just don't see any reason why people have frozen socks or frozen shoes or even cold shoes on the trail to start your morning out with. There's no reason to leave them outside to freeze up when you can put them in a very, very, very lightweight 2.5 gallon Ziploc and put it inside your sleeping bag or your quilt. So that's what I do. I carry a gallon storage bag for trash, and I carry a smaller quart storage bag in case it's going to rain to put my iPhone in so that it doesn't get wet. For those who don't know a lot about the Sheltowee Trace Hiker Challenge, so you're dividing 333 miles into 11 installments plus a couple of day hikes to kind of keep the mileage from getting outrageous. It's organized in such a way that you pay $40 a month for the privilege of having shuttle service. You park your car at the destination of the monthly hike, and the shuttle service takes you to the trailhead. It is a kind of a supervised hike in that they have medical contingencies, and they have a front person and a back person to make sure that everybody's accounted for. They set up campsites for larger groups, but at the end of the day, you're hiking your own hike like you always would for those of us that go out as regularly as we can. If you do the math, 333 divided by 11, you're going to do 12, 13, 15-mile days if you start Saturday morning as early as you can and come out Sunday night and get in your car and drive back home to start your week. Everything I've always heard about through hikes says start your hiking out in reasonable 8, 9, 10-mile days to get your trail legs under you. But you're doing this once a month, and you've got to knock 12, 13, 14, 15 miles out on a trail that doesn't have a lot of elevation change, but probably has some weekends where we'll do a couple thousand feet of ups and downs. So my decision is to be as lightweight as I can, and that's why I went out and did a couple of shakedown hikes in really bad weather to make sure I could do what I wanted to do with the weight I was willing to carry. So here's the rest of the items. All right, this worked out really well for me in 25, 30 degree weather at night. Anything colder than that I might make a judgment call on, but here we go. So the Thermarest Z seat for sitting and hanging out when the ground is wet or cold or both. I'm using the Thermarest Neo Air Xtherm 5.2 R value pad. Sleeps more comfortably than the X Lite. I use a Tyvek sheet for a ground sheet, and there's the king of all items that I've ever owned, the Zpacks duplex tent. Works perfectly fine as long as you're properly geared up when you're inside the tent. My backpack is going to be the Pa'lante Simple Pack V2, version 2, and it's a frameless pack, about 35 liters. The extra 3 liters in the Zpacks multi-pack that I'm going to carry, as well as the mesh pocket on the outside of the pack plus underneath the pack. They have a little place to store a few snacks and things so you can reach for them while you're actually hiking. So there's the majority of the big three. And the fourth part in the center of the screen is the Enlightened Equipment Enigma 30 degree quilt. Straps nicely to the Xtherm sleeping pad and kept me nice and warm in the weather that I was in preparing for this hike. Okay, so there's the majority of the rest of my gear. Here's where we start. So we start with the Lucky Cristallos. I like the slightly bigger handle. It's not cork like everybody likes, but I always hike with gloves on so I don't get bothered by the extra sweat that comes from rubber versus cork. I've always liked these poles. I've hiked with them for many years, probably 4 or 5 years. This is an REI technical scrambling pant. It's I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's a little thicker than some of the regular Columbia type long pants. It's got a little thicker material, be better for the winter time. It comes from REI. I've got a couple of Capilene layers. One's a long sleeve one from Patagonia. One of them's a short sleeve one. Got a brand new pair of Ultra 3.0s. I bought a couple of pair when I realized they were going to be upgrading to the 3.5s, which turned into the 4.0s. These are the Lone Peaks. I'm just going to start the trail with the same pair of shoes I want to end with and see how good they do for 330 miles. The trail runners, and they breathe well and they're nice and easy on your feet with the rock plate in the bottom and the plate where the toes are. So I hike with Lorpen outside socks. I like Lorpen brand, Lorpen. They go over top of my Injinji toe socks. I just don't ever get blisters, so I'm not going to change that setup whatsoever. I have an REI mid layer, this navy blue one. It's kind of a fleece material. And that's my mid layer if I need something between my Patagonia synthetic puffy. And then for camp, I'll have a pair of smart wool long underwear and a nice cotton shirt so it's nice and comfortable to sleep in for whatever sweat I do happen to accumulate on the trail. I've got a Buff brand beanie. I've got a pair of Outdoor Research liner gloves. I have another pair of Outdoor Research that are slightly heavier. They're in the laundry now waiting to be washed from my last hike. But one of those two pair of gloves. And then I'm going to carry rain mitts from Outdoor Research. They're very light. But boy, when it's wet outside and you're trying to roll your tent up and it's cold, to be able to save that moisture off the gloves, I think keeps your fingers warm. I think it's important and sometimes overlooked part of people's gear. There's a regular buff that I use around my neck or to cover my mouth when I'm sleeping at night. And then over here, the last piece of gear is my Columbia Titanium Echo Out Dry. It's a slightly heavier rain jacket. It doubles kind of as not only rain gear, but also for a wind layer. It's big enough to go around all the other gear that I have on, and works very well for bad weather. I wouldn't probably take this on a long through hike for a rain layer. And then the last thing I might take, depending on the weather outlook, if it's just going to be rain for 2 days in a row, I probably take the umbrella, because you'd be surprised how demoralizing it is to just get wet in the first hour and have 9 hours or 10 hours of hiking left to go. A nice ultralight umbrella might be just the ticket for those real rainy weekends. So there you have it. 13-liter stuff sack for the quilt, even though I don't need that much. But I told you what I use it for when I put my pillow inside there and my extra sleeping clothes. And then an 8-liter stuff sack for all the camp clothes and so forth. The down hoodie, beanie, I mean, and the footies. Extra camp socks, which I didn't talk about, but everybody kind of knows about that. No extra underwear. One pair will do. They're the ex officio boxer briefs. All right, so here we go. More stuff sack than I need, but it still compresses down. And those are the first two things that go in the pack, like so. They go flat, nice and compact. Clothes on top. Second thing in. The Tyvek ground sheet. My Thermarest Xtherm. And because I'm carrying the multi-pack for my food and it's also waterproof, I don't have to really worry about things like the water getting to my food. So I may put it in the back here if I think I need to, but for the most part I don't think I'll be needing to get my food in my bag. It'll be in my Zpacks multi-pack. On top of that goes the tent. And I'm very, very, very compact. There it is. Everything but water and the stuff that goes in the mesh pocket in the back. I'll do that next. So there you go. That's the nuts and bolts of the story. And then in the back mesh pocket, depending on what I'm wearing at the time, will certainly be my camp pillow, toiletries, Catadine water filter. This is all the stuff that has an odor to it: toothpaste, Body Glide, Neosporin, that kind of stuff that I want to be able to put into my bear bag when I hang it. I keep it available on the outside of my pack in case I need it, but that allows me to keep my ditty bag in the tent with me because there's nothing in here that's smellable, but yet it's got my pee bottle, it's got the my power bank stuff, my electronic stuff, as well as the other essentials. Nice and comfortable in the back. The buff and the beanie and all the stuff I might have to get to at some point if I'm not already wearing it. My little plastic tablecloth. And my 3 pieces of Ziploc gear that I'll be using at one point or the other throughout the trip for trash or whatever. On the other side of the pack, the Pa'lante V2 has these 2 little shoulder packs right here where the straps are. I'll always keep my night core, a lantern, my headlamp in one of these, along with my emergency medical kit. And the other one, I'll just have some snacks that I want to get to. The V2 also has underneath here a mesh pocket directly underneath the back. It's probably a couple liters here where you can stick trash or some other snacks that you want to get to during the day. So it's very portable where you don't have to do a lot of taking your pack on and off. The last thing that I'll put back here before I get it all compacted is my Z-seat. So here's the two Smart Waddle Bottles 2 liters. Smart Waddle Bottles 2 liters. Smart Waddle Bottles 2 liters. I went ahead and hung my my rain jacket as well. So the only thing not in this pack right this moment is whatever food I'll be taking. So let's call it 2 pounds. 2 pounds for 2/3 of a day hiking on Saturday and all day on Sunday. 2 pounds, 2.5. Just add whatever figure you want to add to this. So here we go with the weigh-in. Pretty excited about it. It should be under 16 for sure. Zeroed out. And let's see. Drum roll. 15.62. So 17.62 is what it looks like. So that's probably as light as you can get in wintertime. And so we'll see how it goes. I sure am excited about putting out a video every month for the trip. 11 months to get the whole Sheltowee Trace done. 330 guaranteed miles this year, not counting all my other excursions. So I'm doing all I can for the next couple of 3 years while I'm still working for a living, leading up to the through hiking era, that we'll call it, once I reach 65 and decide to retire. So hope you enjoyed the video. Love to have your comments. I'm not a very competitive person. I think this works for me. It'll only get lighter in the summertime, but if you got any thoughts, feel free to go ahead and throw them out there. In the meantime, I'll see you on the videos when I get out there starting January 11th. It's only about 2.5 weeks away. See ya.